Next, we will have Karel Calitz. He's going to talk about accessibility isn't complicated. It's care, and in South Africa, it's connection. So he's going to be the next one. Can we get applause for Karel?
Hi, everybody. So every time we visit Thailand or get to visit Thailand, I try and find myself a version of the three little wise monkeys. Hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil. And thinking about accessibility, I obviously can't help looking at them and going, we are essentially expecting users to act very much like these three little monkeys. They can't hear the audio, they can't view visual cues, and they can't communicate to ask for any kind of help. It's obviously not the reason for these three monkeys. It has to do with moral choices and what you choose to engage with. But I couldn't help but see the parallel with these little figurines. And yes, we do often create sites that ask our visitors to act like these three little figurines. So who is this talk for? Accessibility touches every part of a website, and it touches every part of the development process. So this talk really is for everyone. It's about making sure that no one is cut off or left behind, and that everybody has the ability to communicate and interact and fully participate. And we are all part of that process. So in South Africa, accessibility thinking has always driven innovation. It's in our DNA to make a plan. There is an Afrikaans saying, 'n boer maak 'n plan,' and it means a farmer makes a plan. And it's about finding practical and often ingenious ways to overcome constraints. We make things work, even often under difficult circumstances. It perfectly captures how we as South Africans approach problems, not through complaints, but rather with creativity. So I just want to share a couple of examples of South African innovations that address accessibility needs. So my desk is a mobile desk with a solar light for learners without classrooms. So designers really looked at how children in rural areas without access to traditional classrooms learn. And they solved the issue by giving them something mobile that is their own. And it didn't only change their homework habits, but it reportedly also gave the students a sense of being real students. So when children don't have schools, then we just bring the classroom to them. Same with Lifeline energy radios. It's a solar and crank powered device for education for off-the-grid learners. When there's no electricity, then again, we just bring power to the learners. Now, my absolute favorite one is the Hippo roller. It is a way for people in areas where there are infrastructural issues to bring water into their homes. And they didn't only, through this innovation, make it easy for people to carry or roll this water to their homes, but they turned it into a way for even the elderly and children to be able to do this, because they don't actually need to pick up the container for the water. BookDash is an open access book library that offers free books for learners. And it turned into something a little bit more than that, where it is not only access to existing books, but also has given up-and-coming authors a way to put out their own stories. So when books are too expensive, then obviously we can make them free. But when you don't see yourself in these books, then we just put out new ones. A few honorable mentions. Wonder Bag is an electricity-free slow cooker. It uses the heat that is already in the pot to slow cook whatever's in it once it's in the bag. Fireproof shack material, a cob grill. We actually have one of these at home. It's a tiny little braai that is just fantastic. Smart lock safety syringe, cyber tracker, which is a way for rural trackers to input information around animals, but a lot of these trackers are not literate enough to write. So it gives them something that uses symbols to actually input that information. And then biobricks that are made from urine. I can't give you more information about that one because I make the urine, I don't make the bricks. So, and then this is where it gets a little bit more interesting. So M-Pesa, developed in Kenya, is a way for the unbanked population in Africa to move money around. And this has become actually a case study that the rest of the world has tapped into because it has shown that it works. Because through using millions of Africans to test it, we've actually built a system, or they've actually built a system that is bulletproof in a way. So these physical innovations share something crucial with digital accessibility. They all started out with designing for the edges. Students without classrooms, families without running water, and communities without banks. So because when you design for edge cases, you often discover solutions that benefit everyone. Curb cuts were invented for people with wheelchairs, but now we're giving parents with strollers a way to get around a little bit more easily. Closed captions were initially for people who couldn't hear, but now we're using it, or all of us are using it when we're watching YouTube videos in crowded and noisy coffee shops. Electric toothbrushes, audiobooks, Velcro. These all started out as accessible or accessibility products, but now everybody's using them on a daily basis. But accessibility isn't just about color contrast and screen readers. Real people are wanting to take part, and accessibility helps with that. So if you think about these cases, for instance, someone with dexterity issues that is using their phone to buy a train ticket through voice commands. A granny that used to love reading but now can't anymore, so now they can use an audiobook. And students who need to download a file because that's the difference between them finishing a project or failing a course altogether. And with that last one, when data is expensive and you've only got 20 rands for the month, then that data is going to be used very sparingly. So in that, I want to share a story of a site that I worked on maybe 17 years ago for Soul City. Soul City is an organization in South Africa that deal with HIV education and specifically women's rights as well, and advocating for women. They needed a way for people in rural areas to be able to access this information. And obviously, 17 years ago, we weren't even thinking about mobile and responsive. Well, I wasn't thinking about mobile and responsive yet at that point. So we put together a site that was really bare bones. Images were very poor quality, and just, as you can see from the design, it was not much. There was one image and that was it. And it worked. People could access information. People in rural areas got information about HIV awareness. And it wasn't the prettiest site, but it did the job. Rural people got access to important information. Then an example of where we missed the mark, or where the client missed the mark, and I won't be naming any names here because they might be watching. We built a resource library with a lot of educational information. Again, wonderful initiative, but everything was developed for print. So you had megabytes and gigabytes worth of files, and no one could download it because no one thought about the fact that rural teachers and rural learners need small files. So wonderful initiative, didn't really hit the mark because of that issue. In South Africa, digital accessibility means thinking beyond traditional borders. We've got old smartphones, we've got 12 official languages. See, Astrid pointed that out yesterday. We recently, or fairly recently, added sign language. So 12 official languages. And then we've got varying levels of digital literacy. So this means that we have to think about all these things: bandwidth, literacy, usability, and that is not just compliance that we're thinking about. So it wouldn't be a talk by me if I didn't bring in the editors that I'm always trying to empower. They are, in my opinion, the unsung heroes of accessibility, or rather they can be. They make daily decisions that either open doors or close doors. And every heading, every image, every file is an invitation or a barrier. We often make the bad choice the easy choice. So unfortunately, as the developers, we are often the guilty party. So let's talk about what this transformation to accessibility could look like. If we make heading structured fields that are not just bold text, we actually make them headers. We allow users to save images, or we don't allow users to save images without alt text, and we explain to them why. We prompt the editor about file size when they're uploading files, and again, explain why. And then we offer alternatives, and this is maybe where AI can come in a little bit. When someone just clicks or types click here, and they add a link to it, then maybe prompt them to put something better there. Explain where this is linking through to. And the result, accessible, mobile-friendly, well-structured content created without thinking. And the guidelines will just make everything fall into place, and it will just feel like a natural choice that is being made. Plone's philosophy already ties into this thinking. Plone was built with structured content at its core. We already have the title field, the description field, all of that falls into place. And then we're bringing in this feeling again that accessibility becomes a natural outcome rather than extra work. So what could this look like? If we have required fields for alt text, guidance around certain aspects of content, automating responsiveness and heading hierarchies, and ensuring that content falls into the right semantic containers. A lot of this is already happening, but we could obviously be doing a lot more to promote this or to help this along. The key message here, accessibility should feel like support, not extra work. When we build systems that make accessible choices feel natural rather than burdensome, editors become accessibility champions without realizing it or even thinking about it. So I've always loved coming up with creative solutions. I design things that I think are beautiful. I build it, and I've always just enjoyed doing that. And accessibility is now just kind of, for me, feeling like a natural extension of that instinct. We should stop seeing constraints as limitations. They should be seen as design challenges. I love implementing other people's designs because I haven't thought through the problem before even getting to the build. And accessibility matters to me because I've seen what a difference it can make. I've seen rural learners access information, grannies stay connected to the stories they love, and communities use digital spaces that we've created specifically for them. So communities like ours here in the Plone community show us that generosity and care can transform compliance into true inclusion. When we share knowledge, we build better tools, we support each other, and we learn from each other, then this hard work actually builds something more. So here's what I'm asking. Don't just audit your site for compliance, ask real people to use them. Don't just build for your primary audiences. because innovation lies in the edges. Consider contributing perhaps to an accessibility commons that we could be building together, and share solutions, test each other's innovations, and help create tools that make accessibility effortless. So remember, every time you make your site work better for someone who struggles with it, you're actually making it better for everyone. And unlike my little monkey figurines that we had right at the start, you don't have to cover your ears because you can't hear what we're saying. You don't have to cover your eyes because the visual cues are unclear. And you don't have to cover your mouth because you can find a way to communicate the problem. Accessibility isn't compliance, it's care. And care shared across communities create websites not just worth having, but worth using by everyone. Thank you. Any questions? Yeah. No. What did I say earlier? No further questions.
Maybe I have one.
Yes.
Potentially. I've got to give it.
Oh, make it a good one.
Well, earlier you were talking about that. Basically, availability in areas with bad internet connections is also a consideration for accessibility. Are there any technical solutions that you thought of or actually implemented for that to help editors achieve that? I could imagine in the end one could tell editors, hey, don't upload huge files. That's probably the most simple way, but what are the ways that you would suggest to achieve this better?
So what one of our clients did that worked quite well for them was when they're uploading a file, they got to a point where they were either uploading 2 versions of it and even an overview of it. So they essentially gave those users 3 options. Here's the overview. There's some key points in it. Here's a summary file, and that may be unformatted, very small. And then there's the big file. So if you can access that one. Because I think the main issue around that is also when we don't tell people what they're getting. So if you think that you're going to get one thing, you get another thing, and you're not sure about it. And you've already by that time wasted your data downloading it. So I think that tiered approach worked quite well for them. And you might even find that no one gets the big file because the smaller files are sufficient. But again, it's giving them a choice, which is, I think, important. So, yeah.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Cool. Anybody else? If anybody else has got specific technical questions, Catherine's here to answer those.
Karel, thank you for a great presentation. I've got this quick question. With stakeholders, how do you handle this objection or resistance to implement accessibility on these new projects? Because usually it's like, it requires a bit extra effort, right, to make it accessible. How do you convince them that will have a good payoff? Sometimes it's not everything about care, right? Sometimes it's also some business. I know we have public sector, we have also private sector projects with Plone. Maybe you have some tips to share how we can explain to stakeholders, decision makers, that accessibility would be an important step for their project.
So in my opinion, we've never, well, in my experience rather, we've never run into anybody who's gone, no. It's always kind of just making people aware. Because the moment you explain to someone what the issues are, then I found that they're generally on board with it. Because unless and again, this is my experience because we deal more with NPOs at this point and smaller organizations. Unless you're a heartless corporate, then I don't think you're going to go, I don't care if deaf people can't access my website. I don't care if someone with dexterity issues can't order a ticket on my application. So for me, it's always just around making people aware of something that may be an issue. And then generally people are on board with that thinking and getting on board with a solution. So.
still have a lot of time.
Yeah. Any personal questions? No, please no. Cool.
Okay.
Well, thanks everybody.
So